I think this is how you negotiate with the Iranians, that if they are going to play these games, if they're going to mess around, they're going to find out. And so, look, you have a decentralized nature of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And so this could be certain elements acting out on their own that are unhappy with the deal, the same way that you have elements of the Republican Party here that would like to see us go all the way and put boots on the ground into Iran. So I think that's why the market isn't necessarily spooked after this weekend's activities. I think those that have been following along, there's been so much back and forth that you become somewhat immune to it. And as long as gas prices start coming down and everything is moving in the right direction. I mean, the polls came out after J.D. Vance did the rollout of this MOU. I mean, it got as high as 80% in some of the in terms of approval. So I think everything is headed in the right direction. I can't imagine this is the last weekend where we have some bombing, and it's almost hilarious to see the fighting start at like 4:01 on a Friday and end at like 4:30 p.m. on a Sunday right before the futures open, as if we know what's going on with the stock market.
But yeah, I think the other thing, though.
Look, I think that's the narrative at the moment, and Wall Street has historically not really rewarded stocks during their investment cycle, a la Amazon 10, 12 years ago, as they were building out their infrastructure for what is now their cloud business. So I think Wall Street's going to get what they want, because there's the amount of money the hyperscalers want to spend is too much for the market to handle. I don't mean the stock market. I mean, there are not enough chips. There's not enough memory. There's not enough land. There's not enough infrastructure to build out in terms of the energy grid itself or building materials to be able to build the data centers they want to build. I mean, if this goes down to token demand, token for AI use. So with that, I think is going to create, like, if you're buying the hyperscalers, the Mag 7 that's been beat up right now, or it's been renamed to the Lag 7, okay, and then the memory names and some of these other chip names will sell off. And I think what you should be doing right now is taking profits on those chip names and memory names, rotating into these other names that haven't performed. And that's kind of your trade for the second half of this year. What do you think, Jimmy?
Hey, Mike.
People just want to enjoy 250 years and feel pride in the nation that we are.
So, again, you have one political party where like less than a third of it are proud to be an American. Right. And so everything's political to them. Like, this is their revolution. And like, you have these nuts people watching too much of these other networks, ripping up the floor of the National Mall so it doesn't reflect and it gets dirty and the algae grows again. Like, I don't know. I'll be there Thursday and Friday. I can't wait.
You mentioned this. Okay, so Interior Secretary Doug Burgum actually is vowing full prosecution because you just mentioned this. Vandals allegedly cut a 350-foot-long gash into the lining of the Lincoln again. I think it's great what the president's doing. Yeah. And I don't want to hear any more garbage about the reflecting pool. It looks good. It's clear. By the way, the water's blue, everybody. Breaking news.
Look, this was set up by the prior administration to be an apology woke fest. All right. And so Monica Crowley came in at the last minute and had to turn this around. I think she's done an amazing job. Yeah. I can't wait to go see it. I was in Philadelphia earlier this month, got my USA 250 pin. This is unbelievable. If you haven't looked into the history of this country recently, I suggest you revisit it. It'll make you invigorated. We are not the best country in the world. We are the greatest civilization in the history of mankind.
I think Monica also said over the weekend that fireworks show is going to, and maybe inflation is already at that 2% target. Good news for the Fed.
Yeah, so look, the market does not have a Fed staying flat or potentially cutting later this year in its playbook at the moment. And that's, you could get a ruling from the Supreme Court in just a few hours saying that they're allowed to fire Lisa Cook, which changed the balance of the power on the board. Okay, that is a huge bullish tailwind for the market. So with oil coming down and shelter falling off, as Jay just mentioned, we start getting some really aggressive prints towards that 2% mark. All of a sudden, expectations for interest rates will change dramatically. As that changes dramatically, the bull case for stocks changes, and with that, you get some tailwind to an unbelievable earnings story at our sales. And I think the market is demanding the hyperscalers reduce their planned CapEx. I think the market will get what they want because of logistical reasons, but also we just had the worst month for the Mag 7 since the Meta IPO. right? This has been an ugly month, and the market, these CEOs want to see their stock prices go up, and they are talking about spending $1 gazillion. So for them to say we're going to reduce these plans by 5 or 10% to shoot their stocks forward, I think that's an inevitability, and in that situation, I'd be a buyer of all the chip stocks and memory stocks that sell off, because what they're planning on spending is not realistic in terms of what these companies can produce.
Yeah, the ROI has certainly been like the conversation, and a lot of these data centers, most are not even under construction yet. Real quick.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to call James Carville a liar. He just wants power. Like he said it point blank a couple of months ago, like we need to pack the Supreme Court, eliminate the filibuster, give DC and Puerto Rico statehood. Like they just don't care, right?
President Trump wants to eliminate the filibuster too, though.
Yeah. Well, it's because the Democrats.
Some ideas are bipartisan.
But it's because the Democrats are going to do it as soon as they have power, right? And so if look, and just to touch on Lee's point earlier, if you look at the Senate race between Graham Planter and Susan Collins, Graham Planter is talking about affordability and the disparity of wealth and like what's happening to the working class, and Susan Collins is talking about Israel's our greatest ally and how bad his tattoos are, and this person is unfit for office, while ignoring the plight of her voters, right? Okay. He is going to win. He is going to win easily. Yes. Okay. To the dismay
despite all the abuse allegations against him.
Because.
And the Nazi tattoo, which he's now covered up.
People are suffering.
You think women voters are just going to forgive all of it?
Yes. Look at who they voted for in New York City. You're voting for communists. Okay, you killed 100 million people in the last century with communism, and yet you're voting them in office. Like people are hurting here. The cost of living is overwhelming, and if you can talk to the voter and provide them a path, or talk about a path forward, even though you're not providing them one, people are going to turn up and vote for you.
Lee is correct in that.
You're between a rock and a hard place here, and one school of thought, you don't want to let your enemy win, and then the other school of thought is like, hey, these are unbelievably powerful tools, and in reality, Anthropic does not have a hold on what these models can do and what they are doing. David Sachs has talked about that extensively, and so that's why the government's getting in here, is because these the Mythos and Fable 5 are moving into areas where they shouldn't be and doing things they shouldn't be, taking on a life of their own. So until there's some sort of guardrails on that, can you be like, is it smart to just unleash them out there to whoever? And for these companies to go out there and use an open source Chinese model, like we've seen this playbook before. Like you can do that on your, you do that at your own risk. And if you think you're going to lose worldwide to some open source Chinese, I find it hard to believe, but the reality is, like, this is a very early inning of this entire AI story, and these frontier models are just going to be commoditized in a period of time, and like the real AI will be what you build on top of these models and the agents infrastructure your entity can build. So maybe we lose here, but like this highlights all the investments in green energy in our country for the last couple of decades has set us back because we don't have enough energy to be able to set this up.
No, and the Chinese have been building out
coal
energy like nobody's business, to your point, and we're playing catch up now, which is what the Trump administration is doing. I mean, they're trying to you're bringing in hydro, you're bringing in solar, nuclear, all the power. All the power that's needed to power AI is on the table now in a good way. We are just getting.
So the other inflation whack-a-mole that just popped up is the cost of memory. And so if we saw Apple raising the prices of all its devices because of the spiking cost of memory. There's some rumors of a Chinese company, not rumors, but there's the hope that a Chinese company will come on and be able to create some consumer DRAM. Do you see this being a big inflationary problem for the rest of the economy and push CPI and PC and that sort of thing beyond? Do you see this as a lagering problem that's going to get the attention of the Fed?
I think so, absolutely. It's not going to be the major driver of inflation. You can look at things like M2 to find that, but it is definitely becoming a problem, and you can see that especially in the producer price index, not necessarily in the CPI yet, where you're looking at a cost that was flat for over a decade, and now all of a sudden is spiking. It's going through the roof. So look, we've seen Apple raise the price of some products as a result. A lot of other companies are going to have to do this.
Some final thoughts from this all-star panel. Michael Lee.
Yeah, look, I'm looking at the software names, Palantir, ServiceNow, and Salesforce. There's SaaSpocalypse, which started last October, accelerated this year under the theory that Claude Code is just going to take over all of the coding. But that also bled over into cybersecurity, Palo Alto and CrowdStrike. Palo Alto and CrowdStrike have recovered over the last couple months. Okay, ServiceNow, Palantir, my all-time favorite, and Salesforce have not. I think that trend is going to reverse itself. I think these software stocks are set up nicely for a comeback because while these AI tools are great, the end-to-end integration, the constant maintenance, bug patching, and security concerns of being involved in large enterprise software is not going to be completely taken out by AI.
Yeah, Jim Lee made a really good comment. He said, even is a look at the resiliency of the market right now.